Summary of In the Line of Fire. How to Handle Tough Questions, When It Counts. By Jerry Weissman. Creating Drama. Tough questions build drama. They are also the vehicles for promoting change. In the case of initial public offerings, IPOs, questions provide the basis for investors to make crucial decisions about whether they want to invest in a company that has never been publicly owned. The questioning process triggers some major challenges. Making a mistake in public has significant downside risks in terms of reputation and the ability to raise capital. In a large public meeting, control may shift from the speaker to the audience. Audiences tend to work as a team against the speaker. An agile speaker can overcome these challenges by employing many of the same critical elements used in the martial arts: concentration, personal defense, control, balance, and focus. As the speaker in a question and answer session, you can maneuver several key elements: the question, the answer, the person asking the question, the audience, the time, and your abilities. When you are answering questions, you want to convey one key concept: you are in control. If the audience does not perceive that you are in control, your credibility will be reduced. In most cases, the ability to maintain control when people ask you tough questions is often a better test than providing the right answer. People respond well to those who can control a situation, including answering challenging questions. When someone asks you a hard question, they give you a great opportunity to gain the upper hand by responding directly and confidently. Taking control. As the speaker at a question and answer session, you can take control over the situation at each stage in the process. Follow these steps. Open the floor to questions. Choose the person who will ask a question. Let the questioner ask the question. Take control of the situation after the question is asked. Answer the question. One crucial aspect of exerting control is managing the time. In most settings, it is not possible to allow audience members to ask an indefinite number of questions, so the speaker can restrict the number of people who participate. To stress the time limitation, announce how many questions you can answer before the session will end or how much time is left. When you recognize a questioner, do not point. Instead, use an open hand. Do not call a questioner by name unless you know the name of everyone in the room. If you don't, simply call everyone by an honorific. This avoids the impression of favoritism. When someone is asking a question, listen attentively. Looking relaxed or shuffling your feet breaks your connection with the audience. When a speaker looks bored, the session might as well be over. Clinton takes control. For a masterful example of taking control during a question and answer session, turn to the 1992 U.S. presidential debate among President George H. Bush, Bill Clinton, and H. Ross Perot. When one audience member asked how the national debt had affected each candidate personally, each man answered differently, and obtained a dramatically different result. Bill Clinton rose from his stool, moved toward the questioner and repeated key parts of her question. This process of repeating parts of the original question showed that Clinton was listening. It also showed the woman that her question was important and that Clinton understood its essential elements. Ross Perot answered by recounting how he had overcome poverty. He added his thoughts on how much he valued his family. Former President Bush missed part of the question because he was looking at his watch. He then failed to answer the question, even after the moderator stated it 3 times. Bush's poor response during this debate is considered a turning point that ultimately cost him the election. Concentrate. Presenters commonly make the mistake of failing to listen to the question. Instead, they focus on developing the answer. The best technique is to listen and capture the key issue that the question raises. Sometimes you can do this just by repeating a few words. Repeating those words within your answer bonds your response to the question. Visual listening is another important way to forge a bond with a questioner. This deliberate process includes making eye contact, avoiding fidgeting, maintaining a balanced stance on both feet, and vocalizing agreement during the question. However, if you do not understand the question, ask the questioner to repeat it. This will protect your credibility and allow you to continue to control the floor. When someone asks a truly tough question, paraphrase it. Do not ask the person to repeat the question. Paraphrasing allows you to reframe the meaning of a challenging question and redirect it into another area. This does not mean that you should ask a question about the question, since that tactic only creates confusion. When you paraphrase, repeat the key idea and then pose it as a question. The best paraphrasing uses very few words. For instance, when a customer asks why a price is so high, you can reframe this question by asking, "How is our pricing determined?" Let me explain. This phrasing acts as a buffer to remove the taint of animosity from the question, and it redirects the answer to the factors that affect policy. If a question is less pointed, incorporate some of the questioner's key words in your answer. Another buffering technique is to paraphrase the question and then link it to your answer. When you use a buffer, personalize the transition by inserting the word "you" into your response. "You," an emotionally charged pronoun, is synonymous with the person's name. When answering a question, establish eye contact with the questioner and look for a sign, such as a nod, that you have answered the question. If the questioner gives negative feedback, such as a frown, stop and ask for a clarification of the question. Answering the question itself should not take more than 1 minute. Remember, the Q&A session is designed to elaborate on your presentation. Do not use the Q&A to start a new presentation. Weify and topspin. Personalized answers that address the questioner's needs are much more powerful than general responses. Answers that stress "what's in it for you," weify, focus attention on the audience and draw everyone into the presentation. A presenter who advocates an action by stressing how it will benefit the audience can lead people to take the recommended steps. The weify statement tells them how they will benefit. The technique of ending an answer with a powerful point is called topspin. This term, borrowed from tennis, calls for delivering an answer that creates a lasting impression. While topspin is a great tool, getting the best effect requires extensive practice and a flexible mind. For instance, a marketing manager, who is challenged about the high cost of running an ad campaign just as the company faces an austerity budget, can cite the results of previous campaigns and show how those ads generated revenue. This uses topspin, an answer which encapsulates why ads work, and shows a benefit to the audience. Ads generate revenues. Political persuaders. Politics provide some of the most powerful examples of the right way to answer questions. Until the first televised presidential debates in 1960 between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy, candidates relied on their oratorical skills to win audiences. But the televised debates introduced the need for a higher level of preparation and more professional communication techniques. Preparation paid off dramatically during the 1988 vice presidential debates, when Senator Dan Quayle debated Senator Lloyd Bentsen. Responding to repeated questions about his experience, Quayle answered that he had as much experience as John F. Kennedy did when he ran for president. Bentsen, who had worked with Kennedy, retorted, "Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy, I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine." "Senator, you are no Jack Kennedy." The exchange was devastating to Quayle. Similarly, during the 1984 presidential elections, reporters asked Ronald Reagan if his age and health would present a problem during the strenuous campaign. Reagan said it would not. He then went on to say that although he was older than his opponent, Vice President Walter Mondale, he would not make a campaign issue of Mondale's youth and inexperience. In both instances, these answers locked down the discussion and produced a clear debate winner. Be prepared. H. Ross Perot ran as an independent candidate against Bill Clinton in 1992 and lost. A year later, he appeared on The Larry King Show to debate the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, against Vice President Al Gore. The debate destroyed Perot because he was unprepared for Gore's style. In response to Gore's numerous interruptions, Perot began sputtering. He lost his train of thought. He accused Gore of not listening. All of Gore's tactics, however, were planned to tilt Perot away from his argument. Perot was known to be impatient. He did not take advice and he did not like to be challenged. Gore studied his opponent and prepared for the debate. Perot appeared antagonistic and intolerant, while Gore remained calm and never lost control. In a debate against Jack Kemp in 1996, Gore again showed that he was prepared by keeping his answers sharp and within the time limits, while Kemp rambled on and had to be cut off by the moderator. But in Gore's 2000 presidential debate against George W. Bush, Gore's debate techniques backfired. While Gore was considered a favorite before the debate, he became overconfident. When Bush made statements he did not agree with, Gore rolled his eyes, shook his head or frowned. He seemed arrogant. Public opinion polls said he lost the debate. Controlling the floor. During the 1992 Gulf War, General Norman Schwarzkopf provided a superior example of how to handle tough questions. Schwarzkopf gave 6 press conferences and his responses to reporters' questions showed that he was a master at controlling the clock and using a reporter's key words in his answers. When a reporter asked a question, the general incorporated the reporter's most important point or word directly into his answers. These answers made the general look in control and displayed his mastery of the facts. When a reporter asked, "General, have any U.S. or Allied troops encountered chemical or biological weapons?" Schwarzkopf responded, "We had some initial reports of chemical weapons, but those reports to date, as far as we're concerned, have been bogus. There have been no reported chemical weapons used thus far." Schwarzkopf's use of the reporter's words, chemical weapons, is called a keyword buffer. By using this technique, the general showed that he understood the question, which helped guide him toward an answer. He provided supporting evidence, ending each answer with additional information to create a powerful conclusion, topspin. He was concise and very conscious of time. By limiting the number of questions he took, he controlled the press conference. This technique required practice and artistic application. But the result was a display of well-honed, non-confrontational communication skills.